Good morning everyone, it's Peter, Iridium Consulting. So not too far from here, there's an old country milestone. It's really useful. It tells you how far you've come on your journey and how far you've got to go. It doesn't tell you what the journey is going to be like. But that's a really useful concept. It's a really useful thing on a journey. It's a really useful thing if you're working on a business project, or it's a really useful thing if you're working on your business, because I believe your business should be treated like a project. How far have you come? How far have you got to go? If you're going on a journey like that, you need a plan. You need to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. You need a sense of destination. And then you need to understand the route you're going to take and the challenges you're going to face along the way. And maybe you need to have a sense of the choices you may need to make on that route. But you also need to be aware of the people that you need with you on that journey. What skills do they have? What experience do you want them to have? Maybe you need to cross a river. You need somebody with the right experience. Or maybe you're going to go through a mountain pass. You need somebody with mountaineering experience. So you need the right skills, the right people with you on your journey. But then there's something else. There's resources. So on a mountaineering journey, you need food, you need water, and maybe you need oxygen. But there's an important resource: time. You need to understand how much time you need to have. Once you've spent your time, you can't buy it back. And last but not least, on a journey, maybe you can bring the ultimate resource, money. It can buy you extra resources, but keep in mind, it can never buy back your time. So a business plan is exactly the same. You need a clear sense of what it is you're trying to achieve. What does your destination look like? You need an understanding of the route that lies ahead. What path are you going to take? You need to understand the challenges that might lie in your way, and you need to be aware of the choices you may need to make to reach your destination. You will also need an understanding of the people that you need with you. What skills would you like them to have? What experience do they need? And then you need to understand the resources that you need to bring with you. What resources do you need? How much time will it take you? How long? Keep in mind, like a real journey in business, if you spend your time, you can't buy it back. And last but not least, how much of that ultimate resource, money, will you need with you? So I got a phone call from a mountaineering friend of mine about 10 years ago, and he said to me, "Peter, would you like to come down to the Dolomites and climb the Civetta?" The Civetta is the second highest mountain in the Dolomites. And I immediately said yes to him. So a couple of days later, I flew into Venice, hired a car, and drove up and met him in the Dolomites. And we spent 3 days climbing that mountain. And it was the second day that we got to the summit. And when we started, we thought we knew what lay ahead. We thought we knew the route, we thought we understood the challenges, and we thought we knew the choices we were going to have to make. But we got unexpectedly delayed. There was snow on the route, and we couldn't see that snow from the bottom of the mountain. There's lots of twists, there's lots of turns, there's lots of false summits. But when I saw that snow, I knew we were going to be delayed. I knew we were going to have to keep a very close eye on our time. So as we climbed, I kept a very close eye on how far we had come, how many meters we had climbed, and I had a very good estimate of how far we had to go. I was never sure because I couldn't see the summit. There was lots of false summits, so we couldn't see directly to the top of the mountain. But as we climbed, I kept a very close eye on the time, not by my watch, but from the sun. If you have a little bit of experience, you can look at the sun and work out the number of hours daylight you have left. So every half hour or so, I worked out how far we had to go, and I worked out how much daylight we had left. And eventually we got to the top of that mountain. 7 o'clock in the evening, the sun was setting, it was October, but we got our time management absolutely spot on. I learned 2 good lessons on that mountain that day. The first is, we think we know what lies ahead. We think we know what's coming. But conditions change, the environment changes. We can think we understand the route, the challenges, the choices we're going to have to make, but if the environment changes, we need to reassess the journey. And we need to reassess and replan to match the conditions. The second lesson I learned was that we always need to keep a very close eye on the resources that we have. And that's a really important lesson for business owners and for business planners. We need to manage the resources we have. I was talking to a client a couple of years ago about the implementation of a large ERP system. And I said to her, we need to keep a close eye on how we spend and use the resources that we have on this project. And she said to me, Peter, how do we do that? And I said, look, we need to meet on a regular basis. We need to see how far we've come, work out how far we have to go. We need to look at the resources we have and work out, do we have enough resources to complete that journey? And she looked at me and said, oh, yes, I understand. I've talked about a number of different topics in this video. I've talked about the fact that the environment in which you're working may change. I've talked about the fact that the route you're on may not be the correct route, and you may need to reassess where you're going and reassess what you're trying to achieve. I've also talked about resource management and made the point that all of us need to manage our resources very carefully, particularly that essential resource, time. If you'd like to have a conversation about either of those topics, or both, give me a call, let's have a coffee, let's have a chat. My email address is on screen, my telephone number is there as well. Looking forward to talking to you. Peter, Iridium Consulting.